Welcome to the REI Foundation Podcast, where we cover all the steps and strategies to make your real estate dreams a reality. Now your hosts, Jason and Peely.
So do you fix and flip houses or invest in real estate or just want to get started doing so? Well, Alpha Funding has you covered with fast, flexible, and reliable service and rates starting as low as 8.99%. Fast closings, no tax documentation or bank statements required, no prepayment penalties, seasoning, or minimum draw requirements. Alpha Funding, the softer side of hard money. To get yourself pre-approved today, go to alphafunding.com or call 732-657-2014. Wednesday, here we go. We are ready, back, and set. Super excited to have Chad Hudson on the show. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. And a little more about Chad. Chad is the owner and founder of Savoy Companies, which specializes in buying, selling, building, remodeling, and owner financing real estate since 2000. Chad is the sole owner of Savoy and has done over 100 plus transactions and held over 40 plus rental properties. Over the years, Savoy has moved away from single family, condo, and small multifamily to passively investing in large apartment syndications. Chad's current business strategy is to continue investing in apartment syndications and move into a sponsorship role while continuing to grow his custom home business known as Savoy Builders. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, cool. I'm excited to jump in here. And, you know, there's just so much to unpack, but you've been in this since 2000. What was the pinnacle point that you said, okay, I'm going to jump into this and go full force? Was there a point that stood out in your head?
Yeah, I had known all along I was a real estate guy, and it early on, while I had another business, I knew that I was going to eventually sell that once I got it to scalable to sell. And so, the whole passive income deal was kind of my play. I wasn't a market guy, and I'm sure you've heard the story 1,000 times. And so I felt comfortable putting my extra money in real estate, and started that journey in 2000. I graduated from Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. I was fortunate to play baseball there on a baseball scholarship and get out with absolutely no debt. So I did the pro ball circuit for a little bit and realized when my wife, current girlfriend at the time, was in law school, she was serious about her career, and I just did not want to continue with pro baseball. I didn't think there was much there. I thought I was kind of at the end of my rope. So, I just like probably many stories, I fell into it. I defined the term house hacking before that term was around. I needed a place to stay while she was in law school, and I needed a roommate to help support the mortgage payment. So he not only supported the mortgage payment, he just supported all of it, plus some extra expenses. So that piqued my interest, and I started buying more, and that's all while running a different company. I started buying up everything I could get my hands on. So I started remodeling most of those myself and meeting subs and learning that trade. So it was kind of a hair on fire learning experience for me. I wouldn't change it, but my makeup and mentality is a hustler, and I wanted to learn everything before I dove into one particular deal. So, our particular category, real estate can be a broad definition. So here we are 18 years later, and I feel like I've got the answers to the test, but and moving forward in the multifamily aspect and the scalability aspect, all while Savoy Builders is building custom homes, and that's my day-to-day operation job.
Love it. And what's the first thing that stands out in your mind when I ask, what has been a key to you sustaining over 18, 19 years in real estate?
That's a great question. There's so many. I'm a very organizational guy, and transparency and doing the right thing. I hear a lot of stories where people went under and people didn't do the right thing in 08, 09. And of course, you have the economy there that took a crash, but I sustained that. I paid my bills, and I'm still here. The market took a dive, and it didn't take a dive everywhere. And we'll have another dive, and it'll be different markets have different type of cycles. But I would say doing the right thing, saying what you're going to do, and being prepared as far as a rainy day fund, I like to call it, and being just smart about it. I mean, I'll do my due diligence on a deal, and a lot of times it's analysis paralysis and I'll go do it, but also rainy day fun I'll have, and I'll.
You're like me. Once it goes off one place, it's everywhere, right?
I apologize about
Yeah, no
that.
worries.
But,
That's a real life podcast in here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, back to the original question. I mean, as far as sustainability, I think what I was taught by my parents, and that's just being genuine and having a rainy day fun and being, doing your due diligence on deals. So that's what kept me running. And then again, we could dive pretty deep. It's your life partner. My partner's my wife, my teammate. We don't have any problems at home. That has a lot to do with it, and I can't imagine coming home every night and having issues there. So, it's just stuff I was taught as a kid.
So your wife's your partner in a business. Let's dive in there, right? So she goes to law school, and then you have this idea where you're almost on the other side of the map with the non-structured version of going at life. How has it been? What are some keys to having a successful partnership with your spouse?
Well, for one, I mean, you're it's your teammate, and she plays such a significant role. She does a hell of a lot better than I do. She's chief counsel for a company, by the way, and she is so smart, but she juggles not only me, my kids. Yeah. She juggles being a mother. She likes to cook. She runs, the legal department for a company. And then she, deals with all my minutia with the real estate. She's just such a great person. So we got to know each other before we got married, and then got to know each other even more before we had a kid, or two daughters now. But, I mean, there's no manual to marriage. There's no manual to having kids, but, I can't imagine going into business with a partner or your wife without being equally yoked and on the same page. And a lot of it has to do with the relationships. The guy that just called, I apologize about that to your audience, but one of big influential guys he was our team captain. He's in the A&M Hall of Fame for baseball, and his name's John Sheshik, and I talk to him once a week. I'm sure you've got mentors and who you bounce ideas off of, and it's lonely at the top, and I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, but you want to hitch your wagon to smart people and hang around smart people. And John Sheshik was one of those mentors towards me, and he was ahead of his time, when we were all out goofing off and going to bars. On game day, he was at home, and that's why he hit 350.
Yeah, I love it. You made a great point there, right? Because real estate can be a lonely business, because you're sometimes you're just out there almost on an island trying to do this, and the more you can connect with like-minded people and surround themselves to really give yourself the foundation, it's
no doubt. Now, it's a team sport, and regardless whether you're selling snow cones or IT guy, or you have to surround yourself with good people, and you have to be a good person yourself. I mean, I truly believe that.
And so your business, you've done 100 plus transactions, 40 plus rental properties, and now you're slowly continuing to transition and grow your businesses in different classes, right? And now you're going all in on passive investing in apartment buildings. Why the move? What was the impetus to jump into this, and talk to us a little more about what you're currently doing?
Sure. When you're young, back it up a little bit, your ego's through the roof, and you think you can do so many different things. What I've learned, and what my wife has also taught me, is to delegate. And I've gotten really good at that over the years. I sucked at it at first, just like I sucked at social media and networking, and still struggle there. But I would say, my original goal was to have 100 doors, and that is self-manage every one of them myself. And I got up to over 40 and slowly began to realize, just like most of your audience, that it's not scalable. I was coming home at night, and I really enjoy the building concept of the side of the business, that I love building a home for a family, a custom home. And I really love that industry, and I'm really good at it. But, and I was good at being a landlord. I do miss a lot of that. But so I knew there was an easier direction. And so I started getting into, about 48 months ago, really self-teaching and learning and meeting people in the multifamily space. And, I had been doing it just as long as anybody that I'd met, but there was a lot of smart guys in there, a lot of smart guys in that industry, and females that maybe didn't know the knowledge as far as I did behind the curtains with dealing with the tenants, but they knew how to make money. And I was fortunate to seek out several different KPs, key principals, and syndicators, and ask questions and invest with them. And then I felt like once I started investing with them, I had the skin on the wall to actually start asking and diving into some questions. And, I've raised some capital for some operators, but I really love the passive side, and that allows me to focus on Savoy builders. And it's pretty cool because they'll call me and ask me questions, and I feel like I can help out in some way. But I got to tell you, so after selling all of my units except 5, I have a 5-plex left, and I'll still do some local fix and flips when the time is right. But I'm all in on the apartments. I've got over 2,500 that I've invested in, and my goal is 10,000, and I enjoy setting goals like anybody else. So that's kind of where I'm at, and my wife is at, and that's where Savoy Companies is at.
I love it. And so I do want to touch on the custom home part of the business, but I got to ask, because there's a lot of people here that are in that part where they're looking for a different outlet for investing, or being an LP on a property, but they don't quite know what questions they should ask. What were some of the questions that you ask up front of the operators, of the KPs, to just really learn more about them and the investment?
I asked them first, have you ever went to prison?
Yeah, I love it. There you go. Sometimes it's the easy stuff that you hopefully get the right answer. Yep.
Look, if you're giving somebody $100,000 or $50,000, you have all the right to ask them whatever the heck you want, in my opinion. And I was pretty forward with them. You can check them out. I wanted to know their history, and I went with 2 younger guys that had they only had a few deals under their belt. I saw their deals, and there was an opportunity for me to make more of obviously a spread, so to speak. So I would recommend that you ask them anything, and if they're hesitant to give you any information, then run. There's some great syndicators out there, some great GPs, some great sponsors, and they should hide nothing. You're dealing with someone's money, and they better be open, or like I said, you shouldn't invest with them. So you can ask for their background check, you can ask for their credit, you can ask for their history of syndication deals, and see the deals. And there's 100,000 things that goes into one of those deals, and you're going to have some bumps in the road. But if they did what they said they were going to do, and transparency is key, and you can see everything down to the returns and whatnot. But don't be afraid to ask questions. Just like you're not afraid to ask someone a question as far as a mentor. But so I was pleased. I got a lot of good feedback, and as if somebody does something and stubs their toe in this particular industry, especially the multifamily, it's such a small space, you're going to hear about it, and those people aren't around much, and they're not going to last long. So, so that's in a nutshell, that's kind of the questions that I would ask.
I love it. So some of the top line questions: background check, credit history, and syndication history, and have you gone to jail? I love it right there.
Yes, first question: have you ever gone to prison?
Yeah, good. I appreciate that, because a lot of people, they just don't know where to start. And is there key metrics to stand out to you that for return structure or timeline? Like what's important to you on the deal side, not so much the operator side?
That's a whole nother show, but I like to see, ROI, you can see all that. These guys aren't so much real estate guys as they are tech. And what I realize is they have it examined down to the penny. And for someone like me, I love seeing that, and not only, I don't have a lot of time to do that. So as far as where I'm going to put my money, I want to see what their calculations are, what their expectations are. And number one thing for me is demographics and location. So, that's really what I'm looking at. I kind of know, back to what I talked about as far as where are we at in the different cycle. I think every state has a cycle, and I think every state has an economy, so to speak. So what's hot, what's not. People are jumping off the Titanic. Obviously, you don't want to invest in that. So I like the Southeast, and love that, and that's where my company is investing at the moment.
That's awesome. Yeah. And two parts you said there, right? So the cycle is not always, it's just not like one cycle for the US, and people sometimes miss that things are happening at slower, faster capacities in each different market, and sometimes in each different sub-market. So really good point for people to note there is that you need to pay attention to really your local areas, your demographic, your location, to really just get an understanding past just what's actually happening across the country. Now we're going to roll into here the custom home business.
Sure.
We actually haven't touched on this much, so I'd love to know from your point as a model, getting off the ground, if someone is moving into this, what have been some of the key resources that you need to have in point of just creating structure to lead generation? What has been important in your model to be successful?
Well, I give this current category probably more. I'm appreciative that I learned this side of it because it's helped me in my investing career. So my overall objective and goal was to learn everything that I could in real estate development. That way I could focus in my later years on a particular area. And so dealing with the subs is just like dealing with the employees at a different company or whatnot. It's like I mentioned team. So I knew who to use, who not to use. Knew the questions to ask, knew what to ask them, and knew where I could find meat on the bone on a particular project and what's left. So that the construction industry has helped me, and the new home industry has really helped me in my investing career. And I understand a lot of people don't have a lot of time for that, or they're not good at that. And there's certain things that I'm not good at, but I still wanted to learn. And then
Alpha Funding Solutions offers creative financing tailored to your individual needs. Whether you're fixing and flipping distressed properties or building ground-up construction, Alpha offers flexible financing to get the job done. With no minimum draw requirements, no prepay penalties, and no seasoning requirements, borrowers can create a construction loan that best suits their individual needs. Everything at Alpha is done in-house, from the sales force to underwriting, construction management, and draw payouts. The team at Alpha works as a unit to best serve their happy family of over 1,000 borrowers. Experience the Alpha difference today. Visit www.alphafunding.com or call 732-657-2014. Again, that's alphafunding.com, and the number is 732-657-2014. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain. Alpha Funding Solutions, the softer side of hard money.
I still wanted to learn. And then I needed to initially learn it before I could delegate it. So, it's my day-to-day operations. I like it. And it's as far as to me, you learn a lot in the industry standard, but you also learn kind of where things are headed as far as the economy too. Because usually you can tell if they're building, if they're still building or whatnot. And again, I heard one of your shows and I totally loved it. And I heard, if cranes are in the air, be aware, and that's true. And so if people are moving cranes in, then it generally means it's a saturated and market. And I don't want to say doomsday, but means you might want to start looking somewhere else. So I stay relatively small. I do somewhere between, 8 to 10 houses a year. They're knocked out custom homes. But I had to get there. I've had to obviously develop a niche and develop back to what I mentioned earlier, is developed not only a name, but just a face that says what they're going to do and does it quite well. So it's a trust factor. As someone's giving you their largest investment. And it's emotional roller coaster. So, but a lot of fun, and it's taught me a heck of a lot. I learn every day, and I enjoy doing it.
So that's awesome. And your model there, is it to find the land and find the buyer, or are you building on, what's the approach that you take to your custom building? model?
Lately, so I have found land, developed land, and to me, that's that I've did just about anything you could do. But as of now, what I like is I'll go buy lots and then and either put a spec house on there and sell it, and then I'll take build jobs. I just interviewed a young couple, and I'm building a spec across the street from where the build job is at. So I'll be doing 2 projects at once. And I have another lot across from there, and eventually that'll roll into a third house right there within 5 miles of my house and 30 foot from each other. So at the moment, I really like specs and build jobs. And again, in order to get a build job, you have to have a name and you have to have some skins on the wall, so to speak. So I really enjoy that. I let the developers go ahead and get the land and do all the infrastructure. There's a lot of holding costs in that. You can get your butt kicked on that. So I just try to stay in my lane and what I'm good at, and currently that's what I enjoy. And then again, I still have my rentals and still do that and still look at deals and whatnot and raise some capital. So overall, I'm pretty happy, pretty blessed. And I mentioned my wife earlier; she's a big part of that. So
awesome. And so maybe we could just, I know every deal is of course not the same, but just for listener perspective, can you give them an idea of, what your ideal purchase price on a lot is, construction costs on a home, like typically what are you searching for? And then, of course, sale value.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, every state's different. We're in Texas where there's a lot of land still left. So people are getting about a half acre to an acre. And it's anywhere from 100 to 200 grand for a lot. And then generally you times it. I try to tell them times that times 5 is generally what the house you want to put on there. But I'm 20% on cost and getting them their dream home. I'm mid-level to upper level on type of homes. And in my area, if you're first home buyer, you're generally buying from what they call a tract builder, which and there's several around here. But generally, my typical customer is looking in the range where basically $750,000 up, and then there's a little bit of room there. And there's transparency. They see what I'm making on the deal. It's a 12-month process. And I tell them, you want something quicker, then I'm not your guy. So you want something perfect and buttoned up at the end, then I can handle it. So, the spread, it's a good living. And, back to anything else, I could take on more. I don't like to have a lot of irons in the fire. I feel like I'm not most productive when I do. And then we take most of our proceeds and invest them back in real estate. And as you know, it's not how much you make, it's what you save or what you invest. And that's the whole, it's the whole, I guess, truth be known of passive investing. And what I was doing for the first 15, 16 years was not passive investing. And so with my money working in the multifamily mix and it's truly passive investment in my opinion.
And you're doing 8 to 12, which you say is not a lot, but I'm sure there's a couple of people on here that just can't even partake in just doing that many. What is from a daily point of focus, what makes you to be so productive from a day to day? In 8, backing up the 8 to 12, I felt the biggest relief is when I could interview the person or the customer instead of them interviewing me. If I felt like they were too high maintenance, I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
But as far as being productive, I talked about this before on another podcast as far as rituals and what your daily routine is. And, back when I was younger, it used to be, my diet and working out. And then, kids come along, and I'm not an excuse maker, but the gym wasn't exactly fun anymore. So I wanted to stay home and see the kids a little bit before they were off to school. So I'm real big on getting up early. And doing nothing in the morning, having my coffee. Obviously I believe in my maker. I'm a faith guy and I'm very fortunate and pray. And then I answer a lot of emails when it's quiet. And so I'm pretty routineistick on that. And I've got a little home gym. I might try to go get an exercise in, or I might say that I'm not going out there. So I get a lot done early, just like most entrepreneurs or successful folks. And I try to read a book and get some reading in and listen to you guys. There's a couple podcasts that I love getting on the treadmill and listening. There's just so much information out there now that wasn't out there when I was starting out, which is good and bad, because I wanted to learn and learn from some mistakes. But gosh, love what you guys do. I love your show.
Thank
and
you.
get a lot of, there's so much education out there now. I feel like if someone wants to make it happen, there's such a sample size of, if they chose what they want to do, that there was a sample size there for them really to find a good guideline.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And just on that context right there, if you are now working on something in your business over the next, 12 months, 2 years, what is something you're working to actively improve right now in your business?
Oh, if you think you know it all or have the answers, then you're toast. So I'm constantly, I'm an open book, but I'm constantly trying to improve, to be a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better son. And then, I think once you grasp those and I like to say your conscience, if your conscience is continually growing, that you'll be better in all phases of life. But, I learned to delegate. I needed to learn that. I used to I felt like if I didn't, I was lazy. But I learned very smart, successful people learn to delegate and get the right people. So I'm learning that. And, I'm learning to be more selective in my time. I think your time is your largest asset. And, if you've got good time management and your ROI is great with your time, and you've learned to say no to some of the just stupid things out there in life that there's no investment on or return on investment, then, so I've gotten really good at that. I get asked to do a lot of things, and I've just learned to say no. So I think consistency and continuing to grow overall as a person, and that has a lot to do with reading books. You don't have to just read business books, real estate books. There's some pretty out there books. I'm a pretty simplistic guy, but there's a lot of good motivational type dig deep into, and really, what is success? To me, success is if you're content, then you're successful. And what's content? That's a personal question from within inside. So I try to get better every day, and those categories I mentioned is what I'm trying to grow in.
That was awesome. You said two things that were just absolutely awesome. Learn to delegate and be more selective with your time. And if you are content, you are successful. That's just, everybody just think about that, because it's just absolutely true. So we appreciate you, Chad. I got just a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
In your business, or is there a company motto or your big why for doing everything here?
The why for life?
Sure.
Is that right? Man, that's a great question. Obviously, I care about my family. I've mentioned them numerous times, and the why is them. And I want to create wealth. I wanted to learn how to create wealth. I wanted to create generational wealth. And, my goal is to teach my girls to understand wealth, and don't be afraid of it. I feel like we're taught that people and successful people and rich people are evil, and that's not exactly true. Some of the most generous people I know have money. So, my why is my family first and foremost. And I would say, in a short answer, that's pretty much it. It's I enjoy, there's a couple of things I do to give back. I enjoy that. But, I love to work, get up and go to work. And, And as far as the why, it's not a sexy answer, but it is my family. And I'm blessed for sure. I'm not a suit and tie guy. As you see, I got a hat on, and I just, I'm fortunate to be able to get to do what I do and be an entrepreneur. And if I made $100,000 a year or less than that, being an entrepreneur, not punching a clock and not having to wear a suit and tie, I'm good with that. But the whole reason, what we said earlier about success is content, and I'm content. And I feel like when you're content, you can start helping others. So
that's great. So a bunch of listeners who haven't been able to take that first step yet that are listening to the show and just looking for a way to get in. You're now 18, 19 years in to just really just continually to just develop your business and to continue to be successful and just move forward. What's an actual step someone listening today can take to get going on their real estate journey?
Don't quit your job.
Fair. Talk a little
I hear
more.
that all the time, and it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me, because you don't know what pressure is until you get to. I mean, you're young. You have hardly any debt. I mean, I hear that and I just kind of roll my eyes, because to me, you can take the most risk at a young age. You have time to rebound, and so you're going to be busy. I say continuing to work your job and learn your craft, figure out your niche at what you want to do and what you want to invest in, all while working. I didn't love what I was doing while I was building my career in real estate. And for 16 years, I developed a company that I wasn't truly passionate about, but I sold it. And then I moved full time into real estate investing and home building. And I laugh because it's not as bad as it seems from some of these kids or younger kids, but that to me, they have all the opportunity. If you're going to make a mistake, make it at a young age. That means take bigger risks, in my opinion. We can get into details of don't waste time in single family. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't do that. I like to say, live in single family, don't invest in single family, and go buy a plex, go buy a fourplex, and then don't waste much time there either. But live below your means, save some money, and then you can actually go out and do something and make something happen. And don't be cheap about it either. Go out and find a mentor and buy them, obviously breakfast, coffee, beer, whatever it may be, and learn from guys or girls that have been there, done that, made mistakes. You'd be surprised. People will share everything with you. And, that was me as a young kid. I wanted to learn and ask a lot of questions. And I felt like the older generation would share their success stories, but they would always also share their failures. And instead of me making those mistakes, I could learn from them and their mistakes. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, it's just, you got to be aggressive, be smart about it. Don't be, arrogant or rude, but just seek out the right counsel and ask questions. And then, make it happen. Gosh.
Yeah. I love it.
I go back and if we're 20, that is, I would be licking my chops, because for one, I know no one's going to outwork me. And two, I just felt like there's so much opportunity for younger kids, but they get so overwhelmed so easy. It's frustrating and funny at the same time. But I've talked to several kids, younger kids, I say, and I tell them what I just said.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, Chad. This has been a great show, and nothing else I could expect from 18, 19 years in the business. Some of the key points that I really think are awesome here is that talking about, growing partnerships, just being really organizational, being really transparent with your team, whether it's your partner, your spouse, looking for passive investment, some key questions you should really dive in for, open the background check, credit, and also their syndication history. And of course, have they been to jail? Great points that have been mentioned. If you're content, you're successful, and delegation is the key. Also looking to move up, just look at the scalability of what you're doing here. If your area is to grow, just look at how you can be scalable. And lastly, it's live in single family, don't invest. And that's a great way to end up there with Chad. And Chad, thanks so much for coming on the show. For people that want to learn more about you, talk to you a little bit more about what you're doing, learn about your businesses, where's the best way to find you or reach you?
You can reach out to me. My company website is savoycompanies.com. That's SAVOYCOMPANIES.com. And my email is chad@savoycompanies.com. I'm getting into the new thing, social media. But I'm an old school guy, but I'm learning and I'm really doing it for my home building business. So the younger generation, I keep thinking I'm 25 still, but the younger generation wants to see pictures and whatnot. So I'm on Instagram at Chad J. Hudson, and I'm really involved on LinkedIn. I love that platform. It's kind of more my pace. It's more business professional. So at Chad J. Hudson on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. We'll link all those in the show notes. Chad Hudson, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, to everyone listening, thanks so much for listening as well. It's been an awesome show. If you like what you hear, please go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps more people find the show. And again, thanks to Chad. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning into the REI Foundation Podcast. Check back next time for more awesome tips and strategies to launch your new you in real estate.